thanks for joining Sales with Suli, a mom of 3 who spent the last 12 summers knocking doors. Welcome to my podcast where I talk about all things women, the ups and downs of my journey, and what it takes to find success on and off the doors. Enjoy this episode. Hey, welcome back to this week's episode with Sales with Suli. I am so excited for today's guest. This guest I had never met in person. Well, fun fact, I think most people that I have on my show, I never have met in real life until I'm having them come in for an episode, and I'm like, you are so cool. But we have Maddie, and I met Maddie, well, not in person. What year was it? Are we in 2022? So 2019? Yeah.
No, it would have been just 2020. Yeah.
Okay. So
no, 21? No, 2020. Yeah.
We're in 22.
Yeah.
Okay, 2000. So when I was transitioning from pest control over to solar, I had just saw a need for just women mentorship in this space. And I had absolutely no clue back then how to create content, how to put it together, any of those things. I just knew that I just needed to share the things that I knew. And one of my first clients or people that I had worked with was Maddie. And I remember when I was speaking to her regional, about her, and he was like, hey, like, I want to put this person in your program. And I was like, and he was just talking so highly of you. And I'm like, who is this girl? He's like right after high school, she like left and went and like did this. And I'm like, how do I not know her? Like, who are you talking about? And then thinking back and how you were like, oh my gosh, Suli, you're so intimidating. Like, I didn't even want to be a part of this. And now I feel like we are besties. We have never like met each other before today. Worked at the same company, was one of my first clients 2 years later. And here we are in person, full circle. So tell us a little bit about you, Maddie, and who you are, how you got into this space. And how you got into the space. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm Maddie, also Madelyn. Some people call me that too.
Is it your mom that calls you Madelyn?
Yeah. My mom, my
I'm gonna
sisters.
Keep calling you Maddie.
Yeah. Okay. Mostly everybody else calls me Maddie. I'm 20 years old.
Oh my
This will be my 3rd summer selling. I sell with Active. I do pest control. And kind of how I got into it, I was graduating high school, and as much as I loved my hometown, I just wanted to get out. I just needed to leave. And so I had ideas floating around, like I could go to school, I could move up north to Provo, something like that. And my brother-in-law suggested that I did summer sales.
Thank you, brother-in-law.
Yeah, I owe it to him. And my mom was like, you should just reach out to your cousins because you see all their Instagram posts, like that's what they do.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, fine, I'll do it. So reached out to them, and of course they talked it up, and I was like, yeah, this sounds great. And my team had already been selling for 2 weeks in Tucson, Arizona. And so I was like, okay, I'll do it. So I graduated high school.
Totally spaced this. Your first year was in Arizona?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I totally forgot that. I remember I had knocked there for 5 days, and I got so dark, and I made 0 sales, never took a lunch. And I told my manager, I'm like, if you ever made me come back to Arizona, I will not work for this company.
Yep.
And you did your first full summer there.
That was like the epitome of my whole summer right there. And I even told my manager at the end of the summer, I was like, if you can promise me that I won't be in Tucson, I'll consider coming back. And so I graduated high school, and literally 3 days later, hopped in my car with my mom and dad, and they followed me down there. And I didn't know anything at all, like, because I just decided to do it within like 2 weeks. And so So
were you just like practicing your pitch on your drive up
my team leader, basically, I'm like sitting in the car, just like reading it to my mom, whatever I know. And then I get there, and my team leader is like, okay, well, I'm going to have you spend the next 2 days watching videos, learning the pitch. You're not going to go knock. So I'm like, okay. So I sat in my apartment alone for 2 days straight. Everybody else had already been selling. And I learned as much as I can. And finally he's like, hey, like, here we go. So I shadowed him for like half of the morning. And then he was like, hey, let's do it. Your turn. And I like just... I don't even know. You cannot prepare yourself for your first day.
What did it look like? Like, did you talk to people? Like, were you just like...
I don't even know what I said to people. I don't even want to know. But I just remember it was lunchtime, and I gotten a message from my team leader, and he was like, hey, so-and-so's going to come pick you up for lunch. Just drop him a pin. I'm like, okay. I'm like, this has been the longest morning of my life. I'm like so hot. It's easily 110 degrees. The day goes on, and the same guy was like, that picked me up for lunch was like, I'm going to pick you up at the end of the night too, so just text me when you're done. I'm like, okay. So I'm done, and I just remember texting my mom and being like, nobody told me how physically exhausting this was. Like, I get that it's mentally challenging and everything, but I am so tired. Like,
Maddie is here to remind you women how exhausting.
Yeah, no Segway. I did not have a Segway. I should have gotten one. Did my whole first summer without one in Tucson. It was brutal.
I feel like the first world problems from us back then who didn't have Segways, so like now it's like, oh my
I know. God. It's so tragic. So I ended up doing 10 weeks my first summer.
And then how many did you do in those 10 weeks?
I did 100 accounts.
A freaking 100 accounts 3 days after high school, 18 years old in Tucson, Arizona.
Yeah, it was brutal. It was so hard, and like I said, it took a lot of motivation to get me back. But
now I wonder. Now I know why I was like so impressed with you. It was because you freaking like went and made it happen in a state that I was like had given up on after day 5.
I refused to go back. Like, you cannot convince me. There's nothing there. No way. Yeah. I won't go back.
Maddie is like the prime example because I just feel like right now in the space. Younger and younger women are getting into door to door. And so I've just been fascinated just about your maturity level. And, you know, the simple fact that you decided that you were going to come and be on the doors 3 days after high school. And here you are, summer number 3, going to be co-managing. I kind of want to talk about the differences between year 1, year 2, and year 3 as a 18-year-old, a 19-year-old, and then you'll be a 20-year-old. So what were some of the things that you felt like helped you going right after high school that first year? What helped you year 2? So year 2 is last year. Why do I feel so old?
I know.
What?
That's what I think too. I'm like, that was just like 2 months ago.
Yes. Like, what are some things that you felt like you did differently that just helped you this last year in comparison to your first summer?
Well, I got to train. So
you knew what you were doing.
At the end of my first summer, I was like, if I'm going to come back, I know I can do a lot more. So I feel like I have a lot to prove to myself. Yeah. And now I have the time to actually train. And
why did you have the time now in comparison to before? Was it because you made the money that you wanted, or you just weren't coming from high school is why you had the time?
Yeah. So just because it was the beginning of May before I was graduating high school. I was like thinking about, okay, I'll do it. 2 weeks later, I'll do it. So it just all happened so fast. And I think that's a big reason I just went out and did it was I did not know what I was getting myself into. God. Honestly, fully, I don't know. But so I just thought like I can actually train now and I can train hard. And my original plan was just to train with my team leaders, people that I had known. But luckily one day my team leader reached out to me and he was like, hey, this is a really great opportunity. If you want to take it, here's Suli's number and you can reach out to her. So he left it up to me. They didn't sign me up. They just said, like, if you want to do it, you can do it. It would be really good for you. And I'm like, I don't know this lady. All I know is she did like 1,200 accounts. Like, I don't know about this.
Like, what am I doing?
And so I'm talking to my parents, and my mom's like, I think it'd be so great. So I reached out to Suli, and I signed up, and I did it. And, like, I honestly, every person I talk to, I owe so much to our trainings and our calls.
And we've never met in person until today. I freaking love it.
Like, I truly believe that everything that I did from November, because that training started back in November, clear up until April, like, it set me up for my summer. One big thing I focused on was, like, a routine.
Yeah.
I got into a really good routine even in the off season. And so when the summer started, I carried that through.
The whole rest of the year.
Yeah, and it got to the point where I was like wearing the same pair of earrings every day. Like I was like, I'm not gonna wake up and choose what pair of earrings to wear.
Yes.
I already know. And so definitely the training and also the people I surrounded myself with.
Yeah, you've got a good group of people, for sure.
Yeah, and my first summer, even my team was awesome. It was a pretty big team, though. So
were you on 2 different teams? So the second year was a totally different?
Yeah, so my first summer had just so many people on it that the next summer started recruiting really well. So they became different teams, and so we split up. And so my team this last summer was filled with people from all over, like Minnesota, New York,
and I don't think you
Virginia.
had very many girls on your team. How many
we had? We had 5.
Okay.
So quite
more
a few.
than most.
No, yeah, and like that's what I'm always lucky. My first summer there was 6 of us.
Oh my God.
And then this last summer there were 5. So I'm always really lucky that there's other women.
And I feel like it might be a Williams thing, honestly, because my first year there was like 8 of us. So like they do a good job with women in their space. Like I love
like
that.
I forget that there are women within the company even that like are the only girl on their team in their region, like because my region is just like filled with them. So
yeah, no, literally, like they focus on that.
So
I forgot. Yeah, I love Spencer's little region.
I know, but that with that being said, like I always want to make myself available for other girls too because I love that. Like I always say this even to the Williams. I always say like you guys are amazing salesmen. Everybody who knows them knows that. And even my team leaders, like they're obviously very good at what they do. But being with another female, like in the space that's doing the same thing as you do, for me personally, like it made all the difference. And so like if I can help women train or whatever it is, like I would love to do that.
How many girls are you guys going to be having on your team this year?
We'll have 5 at least.
That's
if not 6.
awesome. So I'm pretty sure that they'll be doing a lot with like, hey, Maddie, you're going to be taking over like these girls and stuff like that. No, I'm excited. And I'm excited to be working with you this summer to be able to help you navigate through that too. Because I think that's one of the hardest things is, yes, we want to be team leaders. Yes, we want to be coaches. Yes, we do want to mentor women. But I think also sometimes we forget that it'll still be emotionally hard too. Mm-hmm. Like I was having this conversation with one of my friends the other day and how doing one-on-ones with awesome women in the space, it's a great tool and a service for me, but I forget like how intentional and how we need to show up emotionally. Like that's like the big difference between us as women and men is making sure that we have enough space in our cups to be able to show up emotionally. Because when you're going to be doing that this year, like these girls are going to feel it, they're going to know it, and just like yourself, they're going to go and freaking slay it out there. So to know that you're going to have another 5 on your team, I'm excited. So one thing that you talked about that I think a lot of people take for granted, and I'm even looking at like some of the reps that I'm currently working with who are in school and just are too busy to train. Like, what was your training routine like in the off season? That's been like the number one biggest thing. Anyone that I bring from pest control, they are always talking about the off season training, and I really feel that's what separates pest control reps from a lot of door knockers is exactly what we're doing in the off season to prepare our pitch. And I feel like, especially from the region that you're coming from, because that's where I got a lot of like my tools, is the off season. So tell us, like, what are some things that you guys would be doing as a group or even like you individually to train, 8 months out of the year to only work for 4 months?
Yeah, so that was a big thing for me this last summer that I've started to realize is like the job, we talk about how you only work for 4 months. Like if you want to succeed, like it does take more than that.
Yeah.
And my team leaders are great at like getting out workbooks for us, like literal outlines of just what we should be training on with our personal recruits, what us personally, what we should be working on. And they're always available if like we're wanting to train one-on-one as well, which is really nice. For me, I've talked a lot about this with my team leaders. Like at this point, it's not so much like the pitch for me, but it's those little tiny things that I just need to be getting down
with you.
Yeah. And so like for me, I'm focusing on that. But then with my personal recruits, I'm just trying to get them to learn the pitch.
Yes. It's different phases.
Yeah. And so I feel really grateful to like come from a company that focuses so hard on training. Like there's weekly trainings once a week. And if you can't get to them in person, they have Zoom videos that you can watch.
I love that. So you're always making sure to plug in.
Yeah. And so for me, it's like it's available to you. So it just kind of comes to the point of like self accountability. Like, did you use it? And because it's given to you.
Yeah.
And so that was my biggest thing is I would wake up in the morning, before my second summer, I'd wake up and like if we had a call that day, I would do the call first. Cool. And then I'd do a workout and then like read my book, do some like breathing, meditating or whatever. And then I would just train. So whether I went and did my pitch with my mom or I read the manual, like whatever it was, I was going to train. And even if it was training on like self-confidence or
that's still
like
personal training,
self-motivation, like whatever it is, I was training on something or at least trying to. And so I feel like staying consistent with that helped me a ton too.
No, and I mean, for any of you women out there who are just like, hey, like I'm feeling like nervous about getting on the doors, like what are some tips and what are some things that I should be doing to be able to help myself when I'm there? And it's exactly like what Maddie is saying. Like, we forget that this space, we are supposed to be like super self-sufficient, independence, like all the tools, everything is there for our taking. Like if you want to level up, get a mentor. If you want to learn what a pitch is, ask for a manual. If you want to do role plays, like how many of us are actually taking the time to role play every day to reach out and get a mentor? Yes, like just pure, like not just like, hey, let's work on our pitch on our way to area, like type of thing, but being intentional. And the simple fact, as young as you are, 18, 19, and now 20, and understanding the importance of consistency, like that's just what we need more of in this space. And the consistency I'm talking about is the consistency off the freaking doors. Yeah. Like we can all attribute our success in those 4 months to those 8 months of plugging in, those 8 months of having like a routine and doing all those things. And so what are some of your goals for like this year? Now that you are, know as much as you do now and doing what you are, like, share with us some of your goals and what you want to accomplish this summer.
Yeah, so ironically enough, my team leaders this year like pushed really hard for us to get a vision board made.
Cute.
And so they even had a nice lady that would like make it for us. I was like, okay, perfect. So I just like sent her a bunch of my goals and stuff. So I did 160K in revenue this last summer. So my goal is 250. So
at 250,000 in revenue for the company, what would that look like commission wise for you?
Like 42, 43.
$43,000 at a 20-year-old is your goal for 4 months. So $10,000 a month.
Yeah.
I'm stoked.
And then that's like my goal personal. And then of course, like I have my recruits.
You're gonna have a team. Yes, we know that's definitely.
So yeah, and like that goal is kind of scary because that's kind of a big jump. Yeah. Like it is pretty intimidating, but like I said, with what I know now and I know what I can do, there's no reason that I can't try.
Yeah, I'm so excited to be holding your hand throughout the way. Like I'm going to make sure I put down for freaking Maddie 42K this year. Let's go.
Yeah, and a big something I did want to mention too, something that like changed my second summer a lot for me.
Yeah.
Was focusing on myself. And I'm not saying like throw away everything that you had at home and like ghost all your people or whatever. Yeah. But a big thing my first summer, I was so consumed by people on my team, whether that was friends or just people around me. Like if they were having a bad day, I wanted to comfort them and I wasn't focusing on myself. And so my day got really, really bad too. And it just seemed like it was never going to get better pretty much. But this last summer I went out with no distractions.
I love that.
And I focused on myself. Like I had one recruit out there with me. She happened to be my cousin and we were roommates. So I tried to focus on her too. But she would probably even tell you, like, Maddie was pretty focused on herself this summer. And so that was a big thing for me too. Because I know myself and I know that like if something starts to like distract me, I'll just put all my attention onto that thing.
Yeah.
And so what I have to tell myself is like, this thing is not worth $50,000, $60,000, whatever dollars. Like it's just not.
Yeah.
And so even recently I had to tell like some of my really close friends, like when summer rolls around, like I'll like, we're still going to be friends, obviously. Yes. And I'll be there for you and I want you to be there for me, but I will be focusing on myself.
Yeah.
And that's a sacrifice I'm willing to make so that like in my future, I'm setting myself up for something great. And so that's like a big thing for me, is just it's okay to focus on yourself, and it's okay to get to where you want to be by putting other things aside.
Your future husband is going to be so lucky. I'll just say that, like, right now. Just some of the things that you're like, and just everything that you resonate, like, Maddie, for you young women out there, like, I kid you not, like, you guys have stumbled across something amazing. Like, if you learn to, one, love yourself, like a plug into the trainings before you're going to be getting on the doors, and set those massive goals. Say them out loud. I knew that you would be nervous about doing it. But the more that we're sharing our goals and our visions and our dreams with people who are actually going to push us, while setting boundaries with some of your best friends, with some of your family members, I'm not going to forget what you said. Like, this one thing is not worth the 50,000 that's going to be on the line. And so for those of you women out there who are knocking, who are struggling, who are getting rejected, who are having doors slammed in your face, that 5 minutes of being uncomfortable with that homeowner or that car partner is not worth the massive payouts that's going to come with door to door. And I'm not even talking about financially. Like, I am just seeing, like, how you've emotionally grew from, like, you know, the little time that I've known you. And I'm like, to me, like, seeing that and understanding that value, you're going to be a better mother. You're going to be a better sister. You're going to be a better friend. And a lot of times we're just looking at door to door. You know, when we start off super young, it's like, yes, we want to go make that massive money. We want to do all those things.
That was my goal. I was like, I just want a new car. That's it.
And did you get your new car?
I did.
Yes.
I sure did.
She got her new car. And then year 2, you mature, and it's like self. Like, I need to focus on me internally. And I told you women, like, all the time, I wish that I had started on that a lot sooner. I probably would have progressed a lot faster if I stopped paying attention to what people cared about. So thanks, Maddie, for just being an example, and for even just, like, sharing, like, some of your tips and some things that has helped you, because I'm telling you right now, there's plenty of 20-year-olds out there that's like, why am I doing this? Like, why?
Yeah. Every day. I have that question every day.
Same.
Every day.
So what are some tips that you would leave behind for some of our young women out there who are just, like, questioning while they're on the doors right now? Like, I mean, some people are knocking for alarms right now. Some people are knocking dish and solar. Like, what kind of advice would you give them right now?
I would say, like, one of the biggest things for me that got me through, like, harder days is, like, there are so many people that are cheering you on right now.
Yeah.
And when you go out for a summer, like, sometimes, I think the first time before I went out, people were kind of like, she's really going to go do this? Like, that's not very respectable.
Yeah.
And then I came back, and they saw what I did, and they were like, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And I even had my grandpa, like, it was one of the best days of my life. He just looked at me and he was like, I am so proud of you. And, like, that's something I never thought I would hear him say, because I'm not in school right now.
Aww.
And this is just what I'm focusing on. And so there are people in your corner, whether it's your family or even just, like, us fellow female knockers.
Yes.
Like,
reach out to us. Reach out to Maddie.
Yes.
She will freaking cheer you on.
Yeah, I am in your corner, and, like, people just, they want you to succeed.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about the, like, group and environment that I'm in, is I can tell that those people want me to succeed.
I love that.
And I think too, like, yeah, I'll just keep going back to it. Like, for me, just training. Like, if you're given the opportunity, why not take it? You know? And yeah, same thing. People want, like, people give you these tools so you can succeed.
Yeah.
And
we've just got to use them.
Yeah, exactly. So training for me has taken my training to the next level, or my sales. And then, yeah, even just back to focusing on myself. Like, everybody's important, and there's people in my life that I love a lot.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm willing to sacrifice those things for 4 months so that in the future I have greater whether it's money or, like, the skills I've learned. And it's funny you were bringing that up, because this last summer, every single summer, I'm like, I don't want to come back. I'm not going to come back.
We say that every year until back end hits.
My regional was like, Maddie, like, is money the only thing you're worried about right now? Like, is that the only thing you gained from this job? And I was like, well, like, kind of hit me. I was like, no. Like, I've gained so much from this job. I've gained relationships, confidence, like, just all kinds of things that most 20-year-olds don't have, and a lot of people won't even figure out their whole lives.
I just got the chills as you were saying that. There are 19 and 20-year-olds, not to diminish schooling or anything like that, who are there in school paying thousands of dollars to get an education on how to learn to communicate, on how to learn how to make money. And Maddie has decided, like, hey, I'm not going to go into debt. I'm just going to go and do that and learn the skills in real life.
Yep.
And it's so true. So that's what I'm like saying. Even for those of you for those of you women who just want to gain experience in life, like door to door is where it needs to be.
Get you quick. It'll hit you. You'll learn.
Yes, you're going to grow up like so quickly. And so, yes, I know that this is going to be tricky and you're going to be like, and I know that we've been out of our pitch for a while.
Oh, gosh.
But
No.
yes, there are people
gosh.
are always like, Suli, can you start having that person like share their pitch? Can you start like doing this? And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do it off guard, but under the notion that you guys know it's like, okay, it's off season.
Been a minute.
Yes. So I'm going to be a customer. I'm going to go ahead and give you an objection, and you're going to pitch me on radio or whatever this is.
Okay.
So go ahead.
Right, where's my iPad? No, just kidding.
Okay. Hey.
Hey, how's it going?
Can I help you?
Yeah, I'll be real quick. I'm out here with Aptive. I take care of your neighbors, Josh, Cindy, literally 20 others.
Wait, for what?
Yeah, it's been mostly the spiders and the tiny black ants that everybody's been getting.
Okay.
And if you can be here, I'm doing everything for over half the normal price.
I'm not interested. I'm
Yeah,
good.
for sure. I'll just tell you what I'm doing for Cindy real quick. That way you know what's going on when my service pro stops by. So the first thing I do is up here in your eaves. You notice how everybody's been getting the spider webs.
Oh, yeah.
The cobwebs.
Those get bad. I mean, hubby just knocks them down.
There you go. Yeah. So the best part is he's not going to have to. When my service pro comes out, he's going to sweep those down throughout the entire home. That way it looks nice, and he's going to leave behind a dust that prevents those spiders from coming back. Now, what Josh down the street loved is I'm taking a step away from the home. So the bugs are coming from your yard, right?
Okay, yeah.
So what I do for you is I start treating up at your mailbox, and I go clear to your back fence line, getting rid of all the nesting and breeding sites. That way nothing's creeping up inside and then getting inside the home, and it's making the outside more enjoyable for you guys as well. Now, when it comes to price, it's super cheap. Typically, if you were to call in or go to my website, it would be $3.99 to get started. I know, right? Who can afford that? After that, it's cheap. It's just $139 on each of those quarterly visits. But because my truck is going to be out here tomorrow with Cindy, what I'm doing is taking a full $300 off of the first one.
So it'll be free?
It's just $99.
Oh.
Yeah. And that's for everything. Now, when my service pro comes by tomorrow, we're making sure to get the garages clean for everybody. That way there's no spider webs or anything in there. Will you make sure that's popped open when he comes by?
I can, but I mean, can I talk to the hubby first?
Yeah, definitely want you guys to be on the same page. Don't want anybody sleeping on the couch over pest control, right? Yeah. I'm sure on like the weekends, does your husband typically try and come home, take care of that stuff for you?
Oh, yeah. That's his to-do list.
Yeah, that's how my mom and dad were too. Super busy throughout the weekday, and then my dad would come home, try and kill the bugs.
Yep.
So what he's really going to love and what you're going to love is that when my service pro comes by, he's going to take care of everything for you. That way your husband can spend more time with you, more time with the kiddos. And we're going to go the extra mile for you. Something that I failed to mention is here around the base. I'm not just going to use a backpack sprayer, a little pump that I'm sure the husband has.
Yeah, from
I'm
Home
going to use
Depot.
I'm going to use a power sprayer, and I'm going to go an entire 3 feet up and 3 feet out. So I'm sealing everything up. But just make sure to let the husband know that if you're seeing anything inside or outside in between my treatments, give me a call and I'll come back out for free for you. Now, we're going to be with Cindy tomorrow between 1 and 2. Does right after that, around 3, work for you guys?
That's normally the kids' nap times.
Okay, perfect. No worries. We can find a time that works best for you. I'll tell you what. I noticed like a little kids' play set in the back, right? Yeah. If you can save me the trip from coming back, usually that's an extra $50. But what I'll go ahead and do so that the black widows, little crickets and everything aren't getting inside there, I'll just go ahead and include that for you. Do you want my service pro to start with the play set or start up here in the front?
With the soft clothes. Good job. I was just waiting to give, I don't give this many objections. I was just waiting for Maddie to come. Like I knew that she would be able to get them all. But one thing that I absolutely love and that I'm always looking for when I do have experienced women on here, it's exactly what you said. The first year, we're typically we don't know what we're doing. We're focusing on the pitch. If you want to level up, it's going to be about your body language. Like as an experienced rep, like just, especially for women, We are so good at talking with our hands and with our facial expressions. Like, this is something that we naturally already do well. We need to hone into this. And so I didn't even care about what you were saying. I just wanted to see how you were going to like overcome these objections with like your facial expressions, your head nods, and you were just on the money with your smile, your head nods. It just never phased you. You kept your face like just super calm and collective. Like, you've probably still got like 8 weeks before the summer starts.
I was like, oh gosh, what do I say? Okay, to say this. I'm like, I don't know.
I love it. Like, thank you so much for sharing your pitch. And again, Maddie, like, thanks for being here. For those of you women out there who are still questioning whether you should be here, whether you should be in school, whether, you should be pursuing other things, like, do both. If I can watch someone like Maddie, who at 18 years old to now 20, making like big financial like goals and leaps and bounds emotionally, physically, in every aspect of her life, just because of 4 months in the door-to-door space, yes, now's the time.
Crazy. Yeah, but that's where I started. It's like, why not me?
Yes, why not me?
Yep.
Now's the time to reach out to those managers, leaders, any of your friends who are getting into the door-to-door space. But share with us where we can find you on Instagram. So anyone who's looking into pest control or, wanting to get some tips and tricks from Maddie, where can they find you?
Oh, yeah. After that pitch. Yeah, so my Instagram is just Mads, M-A-D-S, and Comstock, C-O-M-S-T-O-C-K, my last name. My account's public, so you should be able to find me.
Thanks for being public, so we can find you.
Yeah, of course. I don't post that much on my feed, but I post a lot on my story. So sometimes I make fun TikToks too.
We are on Instagram for the stories.
True. It's true.
Thanks again.
Thank you.
Yeah. And again, for those of you women who are young and deciding if this is the space that you should be in, yes. For every growing aspect in your life, physically, emotionally, spiritually, financially, go ahead and reach out to someone in the door-to-door space.
Yes.
Thanks for taking the time to tune in. If I've added any kind of value to your thoughts on knocking doors, please share this podcast with another female rep. Until next time, know that you are capable, you are valued, and most importantly, you are enough.